And so today, as we're looking at this touch of God, this love of God, this power and peace of Christ that conquers everything, I want to invite you to turn to 1 Samuel chapter 17. It's one of my favorite stories because it really, I believe, speaks to the provision of God, that the battle truly belongs to the Lord. And yet, in the midst of it, he works in and through us. He works in the midst of faithful men and women who will answer the call to step up against giants. We all have giants in our land. We have giants in our lives. And so as we go through the story, we're going to hear about the Philistine giant called Goliath. But allow that to sink in and start to name and realize, what are those giants in our life? And so right at the beginning, the Israelites and the Philistines have drawn their battle lines. They've come to the precipice in the valley of Elah, and they're preparing to go to war. In the midst of this war, the Philistines really have had their pride and ego hurt because the god, their self-appointed god, Dragon, was earlier in another account by another tribe, was beheaded and found to be laying before the Ark of the Covenant, because no false god can stand before the Lord. And so they're hurt. Their pride has been hurt. And so this Goliath, this giant, the people's champion of the Philistines, comes out against the armies of Israel and taunts them. He's taunting them and trying to draw them out into battle. And so this great big bully, if you will, is on the scene, and he's calling out to them. Now, when we look at this stature of this giant, he was a big dude. It says in verse 4, he was 9 feet 9 inches tall and wore a bronze helmet and bronze scale armor that weighed 125 pounds. That's incredible. I don't know the last time you lifted dumbbells, but I have a set of 35-pound dumbbells in my basement, and I have a hard time just curling those on their own. 125 pounds of this bronze weight on this mammoth of a dude. Okay? So he's somebody that's not to be messed with. And it says that he had this armor, and he had a bronze javelin that was slung between his shoulders, and his spear shaft was like a weaver's beam. And what that refers to was there was this cord that went around this javelin that you could toss this javelin at a great speed and distance, similar to that of a football, for the greatest striking possibility. So this guy was armed to the teeth. He had a commanding presence. Here, this giant, this bully is on scene. He's defied the Lord. He's defied their ranks. And the result of his taunting and his words was that of the Israelites tucking their tails, if you will, in loss of courage. They were struck to the core. This was the result of this mammoth dude, Goliath. And then you could have thought that all hope was lost, that they were more than likely thinking, we might as well just pack it in, toss in the towel. We're going to become, part of the Philistine family today. We're going to be their servants. But then a young man by the name of David also stepped on the scene. While he was speaking with them, suddenly the champion named Goliath, the Philistine from Gath, came forward from the Philistine battle line and shouted his usual words, which David heard. Now keep in mind, the Goliath was shouting these words twice a day for 40 days. And so while David's having this conversation, he hears this taunting of Goliath. David said to Saul, "Don't let anyone be discouraged on account of this Philistine, for your servant will go and fight him." Here you can imagine the king saying what? I'm king. God has anointed me to lead the people, and yet this young guy is saying, don't worry, I will go and fight him. And so here's this encounter, and I believe can stir our souls that when we put our faith, when we put our trust in God, that nothing's impossible. My God is bigger. My God is greater. My God is stronger than that giant. That's what I couldn't help but see as I was reading through this story. And here we see again this transformation. David goes from being able to delegate to now to step out in faith and say, I'm gonna fight this giant and I'm gonna win. That's something I believe we can take in our spirit when we face off against the enemy of our souls, Lucifer, the devil.